What is a hoax you're not proud you fell for? When I was around 10, my dad sat me down to have a serious conversation. He told me that when I turned 13, I would turn into a werewolf. He said that all the men in our family were werewolves and that it would be okay. He spoke about it very calmly and explained how I would be looked after and kept safe. He kept this going for 2 years, speaking about it once or twice every few months while on long trips or traveling. When he told me he was just kidding, I pretended like I knew all along. But in fact, I was pretty devastated and embarrassed. Best dad prank ever. Taking the bus back to college, a guy said he was on leave from the military and lost his wallet, needed bus fare. Thought I was being a good guy, until next time I went home and he was still there, losing his wallet again. Every time I am at the train station there is some guy that comes up to me to tell me his stuff got stolen and he needs to go to insert faraway destination. When you tell him no, he will make a phone call to a friend to tell him about his stuff getting stolen and that there is no one to help him out, just to guilt trip you into giving him money. Not sure if this counts as a hoax or not, but I once fell for an April Fool's prank printed in a national newspaper. There was a double-page spread of food and they said it was printed in flavored ink, so I gave it a lick. I like this one. Pretty creative. Would have tried licking it myself. A minister handed out porcupine eggs, burrs, to the kids in our youth group. I was excited as heck for mine to hatch. Put it under pillows to keep it warm. Okay, that's amazing. I'm gonna start doing that to kids who make the mistake of trusting me. 7 years ago I fell for a scam so dumb I almost feel like I deserved it. Some guy at a shopping mall in the Philippines, trying to sell me wallets. He came on real strong about the incredible quality of the wallets he was selling. As a white guy in the Philippines, it wasn't that abnormal. Everyone thinks you're rich and everyone wants to sell you something. Anyway, the clincher was getting me to sit down with him at a fast food table. He'd been going on for like 4 minutes now, and he was showing off the stitching of his wallets. See, this is phenomenal. The way it's made, he tells me. Most wallets. Let me see your wallet. And I freaking handed my wallet to this stranger. The second I handed it to him, my mistake clicked in my head. But this guy was quick and never broke routine. He tried to draw my attention to his sample wallet while mine slipped, very briefly, under the table. I wasn't falling for it by then, though, and took my wallet back. I looked down at it and the guy bolted. He made off with about 1,000 pesos, the equivalent of $40 back then. I've never felt quite so dumb as that moment. Holy crap, that's actually a little impressive. Someone cold calling me to switch electric providers to save money and get a check for $100. I got the check for $100, but my electric bill went from $45 month to $150 month. When I was young, my parents told me you couldn't go to McDonald's more than once a day or the police would arrest you. I'm guessing they were really sick of being asked to eat there. Fast forward to junior high, and I tell my friends that I can't go to McD's because I already went there for breakfast. Cue them cracking up laughing and mocking me for it forever. I was not a smart kid. One friend still kids me about being on the run from the hamburger police. I bought a nice looking watch from a street vendor while in China. Later found that the hands were painted on. Well, it's right twice a day at least. I was so worried about Balloon Boy. Dang, that day was so weird. My local aquarium posted a picture of a cat and its owner on Instagram. They said they will have a special day for cats so they can visit the aquarium. I fell for it. This was the 1st of April. I also fell for another one. It was a bad day. Early one morning as my boyfriend was headed out the door, he woke me up and excitedly told me it was bring your cat to work day. I sleepily stumbled out of bed grumbling. I wish you would have given me more time to get his cat box and things ready. I was duped. Bonsai kittens. To be fair, I was like 13, but I was horrified and thought it was real for a few months. I think that was my first introduction to learning that stuff on the internet didn't have to be true. The whole Mars One business, especially since I competed in a national space design competition multiple times. Someone I knew at university is currently doing his astrophysics PhD at Cambridge and is in the final few for Mars One. I don't know if he knows it's fake and is just playing along. he's made a fair amount of money from interviews etc. or whether he's still 100% invested in it. One Monday when I was in 5th grade, this kid comes up to me during morning recess and says, "Hey, go ask Steve to tell you about skiing with his dad this weekend." When I ask Steve about his weekend, he flips out. "That's not funny. My dad's a cripple." So I apologize. I feel like crap about hurting Steve's feelings. Then both Steve and the other kid burst out laughing because the whole thing is a joke. Suckers. My dad used to get people to walk up to my uncle with a question like this. He's deaf. Mid 2011. I had been watching a lot of 2012 conspiracy bulls and I was almost believing it. Well, one night while watching TV with my brother, a commercial came on. I spent a whole 30 seconds looking and I can't find it. You're on your own. Talking about vaults or arcs being built. There was also a lottery on their website for a place in the vault arc for you and your family. I go straight to the website because frick the apocalypse. I want to live. I sign my whole dang family up for the lottery and start to browse the rest of the site. I start reading about some author and see his picture. John frickin' Cusack. I got bamboozled by the 2012 movie marketing team. You survived, so it obviously worked. Those dang power balance wristbands. Dang dude. That's hilarious. I joined the Pen 15 club. The sad part is I was in college. I am not a good at spelling in my head. To leave, fill out a side E10T form. Maybe not quite falling for a hoax, but back in the dim dark ages of the early internet years, I legitimately believed that someone had to be sitting at a computer to send an email. So the first spam emails I got sent, I earnestly sat at my computer politely requesting that they stop sending me emails, which then degenerated into me swearing like a trooper at them electronically and wondering why they wouldn't leave me alone. It took me a few months for my teenage brain to figure out what spam was, after which I gave up on having an email address for a while because who needs that kind of stress? Kids nowadays will never understand the amount of spam in pre-Gmail spam filter days, or that malicious email could do way more damage to you in the days when it was mostly pop so things were downloaded directly when you checked it. During school it was my first time ever using the computer for internet. Mid-class I raised my hand and said, "Hey, I just won a TV. Do I click here?" When my teacher told me to close it, I got all upset cause I felt like I gave away a TV. I had my sister at one point come up to me all excited saying she had won an iPhone. Such naivety. DeVry University and their game design program. I was feeling lost and like a pose because I hadn't gone to a real college after high school. So with some convincing from family and friends, decided to try and pursue something I was passionate about. Gaming. I was convinced that there was no way I was going to get into an actual university given that I was 25 years old, so I started looking into getting into a college that anyone could get into. In step DVRY, I met with an academic advisor who told me they had a relatively new game design program that had a 95% job placement success rate, and it was a simple 3-year course, the most of the classes I would be able to take online. Well, I'll keep it a little brief. They decided that on my second year through they were changing the program to become a 4-year program instead. Well, they didn't tell me that I wouldn't be getting any more money to make up for that extra year, so they charged me $1,200 for 2 classes without even mentioning that I would have to pay out of pocket. $1,200 was huge for me, and I was already $55,000 in debt from the previous loan. When I asked them how I was supposed to pay for the rest of the courses, they told me that I would have to get a personal loan. They wanted another $10,000 to finish this program. Now, let me be clear on a few points about DVRY. Their professors are not professors. Most of my computer science and programming courses were taught by people who understood how to use C++ and could explain how flowcharts work. Not only did they barely know what they were talking about, they also didn't care. I had taken a design course where the final project was going to be a hypothetical level for a game that you could come up with complete with sound effects, graphics, and a little bit of scripting. Due to my work schedule, I wasn't able to fully complete the project. I had completed all the sound effects and created some objects, but I was missing the animation and scripting. I told my professor when I turned in this assignment that my work was not complete, but I wanted him to give me feedback on what I had actually done. Not only did he not give me any feedback, he gave me an A+ on the whole assignment with some crappy copy and pasted generic good job message. When I addressed the dean about my professors not actually giving a crap, she brushed me off and said that I was selling myself short because if my professors were giving me good grades I obviously deserved them. So, not only am I $55,000 in debt, but I also don't have a degree to show for it, or even any real working knowledge that I could possibly apply to game creation. But hey, I can tell you how to apply flowcharts to a situation. The guys who could run on water by just going fast enough. Can't link the video, but it was so obviously fake I don't know how though it wasn't. Sonic is hardly a guy. In Halifax, saw a loony on the ground. It was super glued there. Spent a good minute trying to pry it off the ground. Not one of my brightest moments. At first, I thought you had found a crazy guy super glued to the ground. Not a hoax, but when Shreddies came out with the campaign for Diamond Shreddies, I can honestly say that I shouted, "That's so dumb." They just turned sideways. Shortly after realizing they got me, I felt I owed them the purchase of a box. Well played, General Mills. Well played. Free frick ad in Craigslist. I got my Motorola stolen. Vector frickin' marketing. The Bielefeld hoax. It says that a specific city in Germany does not exist and only a bunch of people claiming the existence to fool the world. So I took a flight from the US to Germany and drove to it. Soon I realized Bielefeld is actually an existing city. Nice try, Bielefeld conspiracy spreader. Next thing you know, you'll be telling people that South Dakota exists too. When the Google sniff thing came out, I think 2 years ago on April Fools, I told my girlfriend, if you put your nose up to the speakers when I click the button you will smell what I click. She still hasn't lived this down, lol. Blair Witch Project. They had one heck of a web page at the time too. They had so much material that was not even in the film. Interviews with law enforcement, crime scene photos. It went so deep. The marketing people really did a fantastic job making it appear to be real. Goddamn Santa. I was such a freaking stupid little pleb. I knew. I just played along for free stuff. Just kidding. I am as gullible as the next knob. If I sell 4 more I can go on a trip next summer. Silly me said, if you're so freaking close, just buy the subscriptions yourself. Sadly the person selling was moderately attractive, so of course dumb me purchased a subscription that never got delivered. The frick, her right in the puss guy turning out to be fake sent me into an existential crisis. Hey, that girl over there likes you. You should talk to her. I gave a dude on RuneScape my best armor cause he said he members could trim it for free. I think I cried afterwards. Prince Mugombo never got back to me on those $14568,667 comma. My very first day on the school bus, an older boy got me to spell out I cup and laughed at me and said, "Yeah, you're really smart." I felt stupid, but at least I wasn't convinced that I was intelligent because I managed to trick a 6-year-old on their first day of school, so there's always that. I have a cute story about a certain hoax that my sister fell for. So when my young little sister was around 7 or so, my brother and I were a couple of years her senior. We had already discovered the truth about that tooth-stealing bee of a fairy. My sister, however, was still enthralled by her. So one night my sister proudly stated to my mum, "Look mummy, my tooth came out. I can't wait for the fairy tonight," and she ran off giggling. Mum then quickly gave me $2 and asked me to quickly sneak into my sister's room when she's not looking and switch the money for the tooth. Right as she finished that thought, my sister stormed back into the room. "RHA," she exclaimed. "I heard everything. You asked Deco87 to put the money under my pillow. My mum was beaten. Okay, you caught me. I'm the tooth fairy." My 7-year-old sister, now wide-eyed with the realization, looks right at my mum tooth vigilante and with the most serious tone asks, "Oh my god, does dad know?" 52 pickup, : that if you pee in a girl's bag after fricking, she can't get pregnant. She totally can, and she'll be mad at you the rest of the day. I was in middle school when this happened. I was home alone and I was freaking around on the internet, looking at articles, or playing games when I suddenly got a phone call. I thought it was my dad, so without thinking I picked up the phone. "Hello," I blurted out. The person on the line asked who I was and that he worked for the IRS. He claimed that he hadn't paid his taxes and that they were going to deport him if he didn't pay a certain amount of money now. I started freaking out at that point. I tried contacting my dad and looking for his debit card. The man on the line only got more and more hostile. Eventually I was so scared I accidentally hung up. Soon after, my dad called me and told me about some of the IRS scams that were going around and that they would demand for money from preloaded debit cards and then threaten deportation and crap. I was so glad I hung up by mistake. I had found one of my dad's debit cards only a moment before I hung up. Connie 2012. Getting rickrolled every day by seemingly harmless links from Reddit. I bought a clean diesel thinking I was helping the environment. Back in 2006 in June, the 6th of June 2006 was a thing. There was a crap ton of news coverage of the world ending. I was a really scared middle schooler that was waiting to randomly die lol. Well, there was the Fallada massacre. This cat is shocked that you haven't liked this video yet. Like it fast so they can calm down. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.